What's up, everybody? This is the Act Man here, and today I get to talk about my favorite first-person shooter of all time, Halo Combat Evolved. Halo Studios posted a 28-minute gameplay demo, a full playthrough of Assault on the Control Room, and I wanted to take a look at it and really compare it to the original, see what kind of fine details they might have missed, what they nailed about it, and just kind of give you my overall vibes on where the direction of the remake is headed. Now, I will say, I'm fully prepared for some people to watch this video and say that I'm nitpicking and biased. They win, bye-bye. I think especially with a remake of a masterpiece like Combat Evolved, saying someone is nitpicking when they're talking about details that made the game as great as it was is not really constructive. I think it's important to pore over the details and scrutinize them as hard as Bungie did when they made the game. Bungie was highly critical of their work, and so I think a lot of these details might seem unimportant or irrelevant individually, but I'm going to help you get the bigger picture of it all, alright? So let's take a look. What are these grunts doing exactly? Just kind of standing there, meandering around. Sound effects are kind of played at random. Not a huge fan of that shot. You like how the audio just abruptly cut? Okay, I'm really confused by how bad this looks. It's not a great start. Let's take a look at the original. So we start with this establishing shot, which looks up and then pans down. Much more dynamic. It shows you the location better. This feels a little cramped. See, as it pans down to show the cliffside, and what's important is the depth of the chasm here. That's really cool to see in a cutscene. This does not really show the scale as good as the original did. And you'll also notice all of the grunts are sleeping except for one. And you've got this nice little custom animation as it hears the pelican, looks up. Yeah, and then you cut to that. So this is a pretty great shot. It sets up the encounter and wakes up the other grunts who clearly were not expecting you to come down this way. I'm not sure what the grunts are doing here. It's kind of like they don't know what they're doing there either, but also the way they run is really awkward. You can also, check this out, you can see the grunt shaking here. Shaking with fear. He jumps, and then it looks a lot better. I think this is cool to have faux hammer. It's just cut really weird because we don't see the grunt like jump and then run away. Again, little details like that, so I don't see anything that's been improved other than the graphical fidelity of this first cutscene. I know it's a pre-release build, but also, like, it's just not a finished cutscene, which is very strange. Again, you also, like, you start with the view on the bridge, but what's interesting is that, because it pans over, you get a chance to look around, and then it shows off the little cliffside there. It's also a more seamless transition to first person because look at the position of the pelican. You're looking out the back of it. When it cuts to that, that's what you're looking at. Here, you just kind of have like these slow panning shots, and then he's looking around. So it's really awkward. It's really awkward cinematography, animation, sound effects just cutting out. It lacks a lot of polish.
We'll be able to find our way to the control center from here.
For whatever reason, they changed the shade turrets. Now they look more like the ones in 3 and Reach. Also, I would like to point out that having original grunt sound effects is a great touch. I love it.
The Covenant presence here is stronger than I anticipated.
I'll be honest, I have always hated the that elite animation. I just look so goofy. I know it's in Reach, but so there's a couple things. Number one, I don't know if this elite managed to shoot the player. The elite AI looks a lot worse. Now, another small detail is that in Combat Evolved, they'll do this like I've spotted you animation. It gives a player a moment to react that their cover has been blown, but they don't do this if they've already seen you. So these guys are already triggered at the beginning to be aware of the player's presence. So there's no reason for him to be pointing you out, right? What I'm trying to say is that between that animation and the this elite doesn't really do anything, and it just doesn't really feel like an elite. Also, looking at this out of context, like, if you told me this was the start of Assault in the Control Room, I mean, the walls here and the floor, it's all like metal. Gives off a very uniform vibe and feels kind of generic sci-fi, whereas in the first game you have, again, due to the graphical limitations, but the metal parts are like the door. This kind of looks like it could be petrified wood or volcanic rock. It doesn't look like metal. It looks more like stone, you know? I think it's really the different colors, you know, the turquoise lights, the green, the purple, blue. It's visually pretty nice. This is kind of, there's a little blues, there's some yellow there. And not a big fan of the Forerunner architecture. I'm down for Suicide Grunts in Halo 1. I think that's an addition that adds a little bit of spice and difficulty to the grunts. The thing is, so again, just look at how the elites and the grunts both charge out, right? Whereas here, the grunts just kind of stay in the hallway. One elite comes out kind of awkwardly and just stands there to point you out. Like, whereas these guys, they just charge straight out, guns ablaze, and trying to push me down. It's kind of what makes this section more challenging. You see the grunts are also scripted to run and get in the shade turrets, so if you're not quick enough in killing them, you'll have to deal with that. Again, these grunts don't really do that. They're just kind of standing in there. You'll also notice when grunts flee, they run away from the player. Actually, when I kill this elite, you can see them both turn around to go back into the hallway. For whatever reason, when the grunts flee, they are running towards the player. I mean, this happens sometimes in Combat Evolved, but it's awkward. There's blood too. There's a little bit of blood. Actually, that's a pretty decent amount of blood. You know, Halo 1 had cartoonish amounts, so that's great. Thank you. The blood is back. Okay, you'll also notice they changed the hallways. Rather than having some bends in them, because again, these hallways are used for combat encounters multiple times throughout this mission and 2 betrayals. If the level design is ever, like, bad or mediocre, it's doubly bad and mediocre because you have to play through it twice. So they've replaced these hallways, or at least this first hallway, which had some bends, you know, adds a little dimension to the combat, some cover, with just a straight hallway. Interesting choice. They've also made plenty of big changes to these rooms. Again, it kind of looks like a metal corridor that you don't have this glass paneling, which you might not know, or maybe you didn't notice, but different surfaces like ice and glass actually react differently with grenades. So it adds a little gameplay implication. And again, it just kind of looks like any other generic Forerunner corridor. You'll notice the difference between these elites, right? This one is looking away from the door, whereas this one is patrolling in front of it. So you can sneak up and kill him. It's kind of difficult because, as you'll see, you know, he turns around pretty quickly and spots me, right? I try to jump over, but now I gotta take him head on, and I end up taking some damage from the others. This guy's, it's a free back smack, and the entire layout of this area is different. As you'll see, like, the grunts will have height advantage over you, so it provides a little bit of verticality in this enclosed space, whereas this kind of gives you access to the same verticality. And I mean, it doesn't look like a terrible place to fight enemies in. I love that he fucked the grenade up, and they were like, yeah, post that. Gunplay looks pretty satisfying, so that's good. But I think I much prefer the ancient stone theme that's going on here versus this, like, metallic, futuristic, brand new, shiny vibe.
These lights seem to be responding to our proximity and guiding us to the exit.
So when you're adding new dialogue and replacing old dialogue, you have to ask why. So some of Cortana's dialogue, the new stuff, is basically just pointing out what your eyeballs can already see. This is the dialogue that was cut to be replaced with this.
The Covenant presence here is stronger than I anticipated. They seem to have the entire region secured.
So, you know, much more important stuff. The dialogue in the original is just better. It's more informative. You know, you did get the jump on the Covenant by sneaking in through that hatch with the Pelican. Clearly, they weren't expecting that. But Cortana wasn't expecting the Covenant to be in this part of the ring. At least the entire region. So, not a big fan of the downgrade in dialogue. Okay, also, in the original, once you get to this door, you're ambushed by a few grunts. Now, in the remake, they decided to... yeah, let's take those grunts out. So they removed this encounter where you were ambushed by a few grunts. Not sure why. I think it's more fun to shoot grunts than it is to walk through an empty, straight hallway, but we all have different tastes. This is why they added sprint. They made the hallway longer, so there was a reason for you to sprint through it. I do like how much the Covenant contrasts with the background. However, in terms of art direction and just visual variety, you will notice a pattern of everything kind of being either covered in snow or it's futuristic metallic silver. As you'll see in Combat Evolved, the color palette and design and architecture was it was a lot more than that. While the buildings are still kind of white, they're not caked in snow. I think, like, you see there's some turquoise. The color scheme just looks very white and dark, whereas you've got some grays, a little bit of darks. I don't know, I just think the color scheme of this is better.
This is Fire Team Zulu. Can anyone hear me? We got Covenant all over us. Can anyone hear me? Over.
Now, they actually, that's restored dialogue that Bungie cut from the original, and that's fantastic. You can check out Nervy Destroyer's playlist. He restored a bunch of these cut dialogue and encounters in his mods. And so it's really nice to see 343 do that. Or sorry, Halo Studios. Old habits die hard. But no, yes, please. Not only have they reintroduced this dialogue, it sounds like they've recorded new dialogue as well to work around it. So again, you have another example of elites just kind of standing there feeling like statues. And in the original, they were anything but.
Tracking data indicates we're almost on top of them, Chief. They should be in the canyon below us. Get a visual.
Again, like, kind of pointless dialogue. You already see the Pelican come in, and if you watch it, it drops down below. Nitpicks aside, like, you don't necessarily make a story better by just adding more superfluous dialogue to it. Again, yeah, the gold sword elites is kind of a joke. look at how much more. I mean, granted, it's on legendary, but you know, he keeps me back because he's way faster than the other ones, right? And he's smart. He hides behind cover once he notices I'm shooting needles at him, so I'm wasting my ammo. Now he starts charging again, and he's already behind this, so I got to back up. And now he's going back behind cover, and he makes a break for it. But this one in comparison, much less interesting. Gold sword elites, yeah, they might have screwed him up. They do sprint down these hallways. They replaced the hallways with just a straight line so you would sprint down it. Why? Is that why? I don't know why. Again, you can really see how this height is really to the player's benefit, not the Covenant. So these rooms seem like they're just less challenging to play through, at least the way it's being played. I do like the sort of turquoise lighting, though. Big fan of that. Man, okay, that's like the third elite, and something's gotta be fucked up with the elites, because every time they fight one, it's just standing there. This guy wasn't even looking at the player. This is also an invisible elite, so rather than standing in the back of the room, staring at a wall, as you'll see in Combat Evolved, the invisible elites rush me. I'm like, oh shit, oh shit. Another nice thing about CE is that invisible enemies are not telegraphed on the radar. You know, that's kind of the whole point of stealth, is that you can't be detected, but as you see on the radar in the remake, yeah, you're fully aware of the location as stealth enemies, which kind of defeats the purpose, and again, it's just another example of how the game has been made easier for no real reason. Yeah, there's also supposed to be hunters in this room. They took out the hunters for some reason. Let's talk about this elevator shaft. Have you ever seen an elevator shaft that was this elegantly designed? Now, the cool thing about Combat Evolved in Installation 04 is that there is a sort of brutal practicality to the designs of the mechanical or technological aspects of the ring. You know, it's much more simple. You've also got these blue colorful lights that light up. Maybe this is just how it powers the elevator, but you're basically on an elevator with no walls, so you're seeing the shaft, and it's just designed for practical reasons, whereas this looks like, oh, we wanted to make this place visually stunning for the player to look at, but it just kind of, like, the whole problem with their design and their take on the Forerunner architecture is that the parts that are supposed to be beautiful and elegant are things like the gondolas or the temple or the church in the Silent Cartographer. This is adding superfluous detail on something that kind of misses the point of why things were designed the way they were. What I'm trying to say is that you don't really see many sexy elevator shafts. Okay. So they're cutting parts of the campaign out. This is not a one-to-one recreation. They're actually removing content from it. And it doesn't seem to be replaced with anything. Yeah, there's an entire stealth section here that was just cut from the remake, presumably. Maybe it's just cut from this build. Maybe they thought, you know, slowly moving around, whacking grunts was too boring for the demo. Could be, but very bizarre to have a gameplay demo which shows off the entire mission and then, like, cut parts of it. Wee, look at all the fun I'm having whacking these guys. I'm shooting. Oh, I gotta sneak up on this elite. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna kill him. Wee, I'm having so much fun. I'm shooting things. Versus, all right, whack these two guys, then sprint down the hall. This is why sprint is in the game. This is why they wanted you to sprint down hallways that had nothing in them. Come on, man.
It's risky, but if you get close, you can hijack that Covenant vehicle.
Okay, I do have a big problem with this. The snowy effects look great and fantastic, but you see how this encounter with the ghost is completely trivialized in Halo CE by not only the addition of sprint, but vehicle boarding and EMPs. So compare this with how challenging it is. Like, you have to kill the ghost, right? I mean, or you can knock it over with an explosion or stick it, but you see I fuck up there. You know, I'm getting pressured by the Wraith, and I have to destroy the ghost. But in this, it's just, you can just sprint up or EMP it. And, you know, it's things like this that take those unique quirks of Combat Evolved, what separates it from the other games in the franchise, and they just kind of homogenize it to make it feel like every other game in the franchise. And that's not what I wanted from a remake, you know? You might say, well, they're just adding more options for the player to go through these encounters. Yeah, but those options were not considered when the design was made in the first place. So by introducing these things and then not really retooling how the enemies work, it just kind of breaks the encounter. Oh, I love these little sparks that come off the ghost as it's getting shot, and the destruction, the little electricity. Yeah, like that looks fucking fantastic. That's where the graphical fidelity should go, is just like vehicle effects, right? Again, Combat Evolved also didn't have the boost, so you know, it just kind of seems like all the vehicles handle and control like Infinite or any of the other games. Okay, yeah, see, point proven. The new mechanics just kind of, they just make the game easier and dumb down the encounters and what the player has to do, you know? Because you're supposed to either use the Marines on the Warthog to take down the Wraith, or grab the rockets and do it that way. But this, you can just drive straight up to it, doesn't even try to hit you, and there you go.
Alert, I'm detecting a Scorpion.
What the hell just happened? That's so weird. So, yeah, there's more audio bugs. I get that it's a pre-release build, but we're like a month out from release and the audio is cutting itself out. They cut the audio of the Marines so that Cortana could tell you, hey, there's a Scorpion that you can see with your eyeballs. It kind of feels like baby's first Halo. Like, I mean, I was in first grade when I played and beat Halo, and I don't think it needs to be redesigned for like toddlers or infants or like pre-kindergarten. Again, on both the Wraith and the Scorpion, they have those pilotable turrets that appeared in Halo 3 onward. Again, just another thing that was unique to Halo 1 and 2 that they just decided to get rid of for some reason. You know, so in the Scorpion, you have less munitions at your disposal and have to rely on the Marines. But it's just another example of like, we don't really care about things that made Combat Evolved unique. We're just gonna make it like the newer games.
I'm detecting a Scorpion.
Yeah, that's real.
We should use that to punch through the Covenant defenses.
Okay, I'm sorry, that's so dumb. There's a Scorpion tank. We should use that.
No shit.
Of course.
Hell, we can't hold him off again. We need to bug out.
But again, you see, they add like really dumb dialogue, and then immediately after they restore original dialogue that wasn't there before. Which is cool. Huge bonus points, brownie points from me.
We could use a hand, Fireteam Yankee. Link up with Zulu and follow us.
Affirmative. Fall up on the Master Chief and get ready to move out.
Yeah, that's got to be brand new Cortana dialogue, but cut dialogue from the original. So that's what's so jarring about this remake, is at the same time they are restoring Bungie's original vision that they weren't able to complete in time. They're like homogenizing and turning the original vision into this sort of like amorphous, interchangeable Halo blob. That's why this is really coming across as like a mixed bag. I wouldn't say it's terrible, but it's not really a faithful remake at all, at least from the looks of it. Also, the ability to give your allies weapons, again, is something that was introduced in Halo 2, and you can decide for yourself if you want that in Combat Evolved, but it's just another thing. Like, you couldn't do that in the first game. Do you stick with those limitations and preserve the original intent of the game, or do you add this sort of quality of life feature? This one is not as egregious as something like Sprint, but it is just, you know, the combination of all these modern Halo features that really just allow you to trivialize the game.
Good looking.
Okay, that's pretty good. This might be the first, I mean, it's very light. It's very light amounts of blood compared to the first game, but this might be the first 343 Halo with red blood in it. It's an improvement. Yeah, like the Ghost with the boost and the way it handles, it seems like none of the vehicles really handle like they do in Halo 1. The Scorpion was a bit more sluggish. Its main cannon was more inaccurate, and you also had the chain gun. You don't have the chain gun, it's more accurate and it handles much better.
Bloody hell. Enemy forces have armor support. Time to earn our pay, boys.
Yep, more restored dialogue, you love to see it.
Your credit to UNSC. Surprise!
I will say the new Marine dialogue fits. It fits with CE, so that's a plus. Another small thing to notice. Originally, you've got these sort of like pillars and this tree, which make it kind of hard to shoot down the Wraith that's back there. Now, the Wraith doesn't really pose much of a threat. It's like someone came along and said, hey, why can't I easily shoot this Wraith? I want to kill it.
Well, that's the last of them. We might be home in time for tea, boys.
That's a good line. One of the cool things about this remake so far is that some of those lines, like, it's hard to tell if they're new or were cut from the original. If that is a Chips Dubbo impression, that is spot fucking on. Okay, so here's a tip for all you level designers, artists. What's the difference between these two shots right here? Aside from the Forerunner architecture, which has been kind of overcomplicated in the remake, but what's the main difference? The snow. So this is open, right? And there's snow that goes all the way down and then cuts off right there. It's implied that wind has blown snow down this path and then it turns into, you know, that sort of concrete metal look. Here, it is just a hard cutoff. It's just like a level design detail that they didn't really think about or notice. Look at the shot versus shot comparison. How dare you not put snow at the end of the tunnel in Combat Evolved? It's a rather unimportant detail, but I'm only noticing it now because it's been removed. That's the thing. Don't know what you got till it's gone. So if anything, this remake is somehow allowing me to appreciate and praise the design of Combat Evolved even more, because someone put thought into that. Someone thought, hey, this is a wide open canyon, it's snowing. You know, the wind probably blew some snow down here, and it shows that thought was put into it.
The tunnel door is locked. We need to find the door's controls and open it.
Okay, the superfluous kind of like mind-numbing Cortana dialogue is starting to get on my nerves a little bit. Like what? We need to find it. It's right there. There's a nav point over it. It's glowing. There's 5 glowing lights. Like, where? I feel like Dora the Explorer, right? Can you find Swiper? Where's the terminal hiding in this frame? Like, baby's first Halo. It just kind of shows that maybe the designers do not respect the intelligence of the player. They got the right music though. Okay, so another very small but kind of symptomatic fuck up. So it's a very small change, but you can see there are these little bumps in the hallway. Now, when you fight Flood, I'm pretty sure there's a combat encounter here, but these kind of act like trenches, right? It provides cover for both you and the enemy that you're fighting over here. So instead of having these slight inclines, which, you know, change the combat encounter ever so slightly, they thought it would be better to just flatten it and just make it like any other wide open flat hallway. I don't. Someone consciously made this decision, and it's stuff like this that really bothers me because it's like, well, like why? Oh, you got to get rid of those little bumps in the hallway. That's got to go. It's really not a big deal. It's just I'm questioning why you removed it. You know what I mean? Yeah, as you can see, in the original, the two elites patrol and they walk towards each other, which is kind of unique. This one, they're both facing to the left. Maybe they didn't get the like elite patrolling AI down all the way, but I think the idea presented to the player is that you should wait before you fire so you can hit them both. At least I think that's the idea, but yeah, again, the elites are just kind of, they just stand there. Okay, here's another problem. Man, this video is gonna take forever to finish. So this is a cave. This is a cave. There's a ceiling. There's no natural light coming in through here, but for whatever reason, they thought there should be no ceiling. So here's the problem with that. We just fought in an area that looked exactly like this. This is different from the outside area. This looks very similar. So we're downgrading on the amount of visual variety that the levels are providing, which is not good. It doesn't look bad. In fact, this would be cool in any other game, but because we just saw this prior to going into this cave/tunnel, it doesn't feel like a cave/tunnel anymore. I do think the icicles are a cool touch, though. I liked in Halo 2 Anniversary and Halo 3 where you could shoot the icicles on the maps and interact with them. I thought that was really cool. If you were to take mechanics and features from other games, that's something that would be worth considering, like shoot the icicles, and you know, it's kind of like a little Easter egg for the player, for the observant player who interacts with the environment. That would be a cool way to switch this up. Something that is cool though is you will also see a part of the Scorpion got blasted off. So that's kind of neat. Master Chief, do you see that terminal with the nav point over it? Maybe if you press the X button, it will open the door and you can proceed to the next area of the game. You see how stupid that sounds?
These guys are like cockroaches.
That's restored dialogue, man. I think. Yeah, see, there is a combat encounter here. See, the incline changes it ever so slightly. Because you have to actually... Oh, look at that. I have to go over the incline. It provides cover for them. So even in this encounter, they've like simplified and dumbed it down for unknowable reasons. Also, I'm fine with the player being able to pilot wraiths when they couldn't in the original, so long as it is intended. This wraith is placed here intentionally so the player can choose whether to abandon the Scorpion and pick the wraith or stick with the Scorpion. Also, this concave design of the ice walls is really cool. I think it visually it looks very unique. And in terms of visual variety, this might be an upgrade. Some people complained that you couldn't destroy the spirits, and honestly, I could go either way on it. Like, I'm fine that you can't. That's how the original was. And I think they're already changing enough things that they don't need to change that too, necessarily. Yeah, the Wraith sound effect does not sound like the original at all. I think could do an entirely different video on the sound design, but... Oh, okay, that's one thing I love about Combat Evolved that the other Halos really did not do is that explosions, blood, bullet impacts leave a mark on the world. It's so unique to this game and so much fun. I used to do this thing where I would treat Combat Evolved as my own like Mario Paint simulator, but with blood. I would go through levels and like shoot corpses and blow them up and shoot bullet holes, and then I'd look to my brother and be like, does it look like the flood has been here? Do you think so? Like, I tried to recreate those areas. This is cool. The fact that your mortars actually leave a physical plasma residue. What's not cool is that the very second it goes out of frame,
And it's gone.
so feeling like your battles had an impact on the environment. Again, it's something I probably wouldn't have pointed out until it was removed, but one thing I would have loved to have seen improved upon in Halo CE is I would have liked to have seen this taken further. You know, in areas with a lot of flood, corpses, bodies, blood, to just allow the game to keep that stuff loaded in so you could really see the carnage. And it's like, you have this really cool thing, but then it's gone, you know? And that one too, right? So it turns around and both of them are instantly despawned. Wow, that disappears immediately. What the heck? Right? You can see explosions from where I shot the scorpion right there, and they don't disappear. You can even see the blood still there. So it's just little environmental details like that, you know? Now, in this area, it does seem like readability and just like visual clarity is kind of a problem. You know, there's there might be too much detail. Maybe I'm just like a CE fanatic, but it's just like much easier to differentiate enemies from the background. The remake is definitely much more hand-holdy because you have nav points pointing you towards an area that the player is just naturally going to go to. Really tying into that theme of simplifying, watering down, and making it easier so that infants could beat it. Although it does kind of like add more noise and you know, random effects. I think the little plasma sparks. It's also strange because yeah, at times it's like a weird glitch or something. At times it adds plasma, right? Adds plasma there, it disappears instantly, and then there's no plasma on the ground. It's really inconsistent. Let's go back for a second because also, you see how much more the red blood pops on the white snowy background, indicating that here are some supplies for you to take, right? Whereas in the remake, I mean, the color palette is just much less diverse. And so it's so strange to have like, you know, the hand holding nav points, but then not hold the player's hand and indicating that there's items and weapons for them to pick up nearby. So again, the blood is not just because I'm a masochist or a sadist. It's a good visual indicator.
I thought the Covenant had eliminated all the Marine forces in this area.
Huh, why did they cut that line of dialogue? Yeah, it's weird. They're restoring certain bits of dialogue, but then they're cutting dialogue from the original. This makes me so confused.
Oh man, Covenant dropship inbound! Take cover!
The Covenant is looking behind us.
We're trapped!
Contact! I'm making Covenant dropship moving towards our position.
Oh, well, it's different dialogue, but if you're gonna cut something, at least replace it with something else. So they replaced some of the dialogue, but the other cut dialogue they didn't replace at all. And if you're not gonna replace it, then just keep it as it was, right? I'm not too upset that you can hold a power up and then activate it when you want to. I'm fine with that. Yeah, you can really see what I'm talking about. Yeah, dude. Oh my god, there's just like honestly too much detail. There is such a thing as too much detail, you know? Look at just how easy and readable these two corpses are versus that, right? You're also missing these like pillars here for whatever reason.
Clear!
Does camo work differently? What the heck was that?
Clear!
Yeah, it breaks camo a couple times. Maybe it's a glitch? Is it not the same again, like, why change how active camo works in this game? You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't notice this shit until you change it. So I'm not nitpicking, it's just you nitpicked details that didn't need to be changed. So they changed the layout of this so it's no longer like a zigzag path upward. Again, just random shit that just really was changed for no discernible reason. It's more interesting this way, even though it's just a slight zigzag path.
We're overcharged on those guns, Cortana. Holding position.
Yeah, nice restored bit of dialogue. Oh, they also added lock-on for the rockets. Yeah, it's like this is not a remake of Combat Evolved. It's really not. You know, say what you will about the Demon Souls remake, mechanically, it's basically the exact same game. I would prefer a one-to-one exact replica, just with updated graphics, some new animations, and a slightly different feel, as opposed to like, well, let's take things from Halo 2 and things from Halo 4 and 5 and Infinite and Halo 3 and Reach, and let's just all throw them in this remake of Combat Evolved. Like, it just, for me, it just doesn't work. Lock-on is fine in Halo 2, but in Halo 1, like, you actually have to aim and hit your rockets, and it makes it much more satisfying when you do that.
Banshee.
Oh, wait, maybe the lock-on isn't that great. What the fuck? Maybe it's not that good, actually. You see I'm trying to line it up? Yeah, see? Yeah, I lost some Marines, but yeah, it's just, this Banshee fight is just way better. Also, I'm noticing, did they remove the little cliff sides in the canyons? It looks like they did. I just don't know why they're removing things that weren't a problem. There were many problems in Combat Evolved, right? But I'm just so perplexed. And the nav point to the obvious, Master Chief, do you see that door over there?
No.
You know, I could point out how the change in shade turrets also changes how you fight against them, and how this design makes it much easier to one-shot headshot them. I could point that out, but my Halo 1 autism is already, you know, we're getting close to Super Saiyan 4, so.
Cortana to Fireteam Zulu. I've sent a distress call tagged with your current position. Hold and await evac.
This is actually one thing that they have improved on. In the original, your Marines will just kind of hang out here without any sort of explanation. But in this one, they actually have evac is coming to pick you up. So that's great. What's not great is the two elites just kind of once again standing there. This is like the 4th or 5th example of the statue elites. Oh, so, wait, so they kept this stealth section, but cut the other stealth section? Yeah, you can also see there's a bunch more grunts than this in the original, but it looks like he's looking for the grunts and they're not there. Yeah, weird. Huh, weird. What are the... They look like they're alerted to someone's presence because they're running fast, but like their patrol animation in the original is slow because they're not alerted, they're not on edge, but they're running fast. That's just... I think I've said the word weird like 100 times, but... And then somehow they're aware. But stealth in Combat Evolved worked like you could throw grenades and melee. The grenade would wake up the enemies, but they wouldn't be alerted to your position. Melee would not wake them up, but for whatever reason, the enemies are alerted to your presence, even though not a shot has been fired. So it looks like stealth doesn't work the same way it did in the original either, right? Because the grunts are still sleeping over there. A shot isn't fired, so they don't wake up. They should not be alerted to the player's presence here. And what the... Okay, so stealth is also broken. Damn, that's disappointing. Yeah, grunts in this also move much slower, which is really concerning considering that it seems like all the enemies have been given a movement speed reduction nerf, while the player has been given a movement speed buff. Again, just another in the long list of examples of how the difficulty and gameplay experience has been dumbed down and made much simpler and easier for no discernible reason. You cannot make the accessible... We wanted to make Halo 1 more accessible. You can't make that argument because this game is literally the reason why first-person shooters on console are even considered a viable product. So you cannot make that argument because Halo CE is arguably the most accessible first-person shooter ever made. Did you notice how none of them dive out of the way? Another quirk of Halo CE is that the time before throwing a plasma, when it lands and when it explodes, there's actually a pretty noticeable delay, which gives the enemy time and the player time to move out of the way. You see, none of these enemies dive out of the way, so I have to ask or wonder if they had that programmed. I do like that little spin move. I pointed it out in my other Halo video, but it's nice that there's at least some agility programmed for the elites. I don't like these new rooms. Like, you know, it's one, like the rooms in Assault in the Control Room 2 Betrayals, they might seem repetitive, but for the most part, their layouts are much different than the others. And again, it's something like you don't need to change the overall layout. You just add different little things. It doesn't seem as interesting to me. They don't have a visual indicator for the charged plasma pistol shot. Again, it's like, why are you making me point this out? In the original, when they're holding the charged plasma pistol shot, there's a very noticeable green glow, which is a visual indicator to the player that they're charging the plasma pistol shot. This is, it's not. He just shoots it like it's a regular blast.
Resistance appears to be increasing. We must be close to the control center.
It's not a terrible line. Does that door lock behind the player? What? I'm not trying to nitpick. I'm just noticing all these weird, bizarre changes that are made for no discernible reason. Why would the door lock behind you? You know what's also kind of a bitch is that I can't even read how much ammo the Needler has because of the white background. How much ammo does it have? I can't tell. The UI sucks too bad. I saw 3? Oh no, 68. Oh, I was way off. What, 96 now? What the? It's weird that they got rid of the railings and the glass. Why did they do that? Yeah, better run through these hallways because they're super boring. What? Why does the sleeping grunt wake up? God, I wish I had more positive things to say about this. Yeah, again, the elites just kind of stand there. That's what they do. That cool. That I have a compliment. The glass dissolving. That's cool. That's cool. It almost distracted me from the fact that not only stealth but also the entire elite faction are broken. Oh, see, they can move. They do a little dodge. Yeah, this entire section right here. Oh, you didn't want to play this. You would rather just sprint through this rather than fight a bunch of enemies, right? You know, replacing it with an empty hallway with nothing in it and a nav point pointing you towards the only direction. It's just so much better that way. It's so much better that way. If this is the template for all the other missions, this is not a one-to-one recreation. They're actually cutting content out of the remake. So again, every area that they cut has a double effect because they're also cutting it from 2 betrayals. The ice looks great. Ice looks great though. Also, again, because they removed health packs, removes one of the core defining aspects of Combat Evolved's gameplay in that you have an extra buffer of health, but you can incur permanent losses that reduce your combat abilities in the future. So again, they just removed that entire dynamic, replaced it with the regenerating health from Halo 2 and 3. Again, just watering down the formula even further. So unless you die, there's no risk to getting your health down to 1%, right? Whereas in Combat Evolved, you have to take every encounter after that much more carefully until you get a health pack. So
the heretic evaded. The coward feel the wrath of the coward.
Man, the elites suck ass in this. Oh god. Why do they just stand there? Why are they just standing there? Why are they just standing there? God. Yeah, see, they got rid of the railing and some of the cover because someone must have been upset that it was a little too difficult to shoot the hunters, shoot enemies on the other side. I might be changing my mind on this remake. You know, I said some positive things in the previous video, but those are based on trailers, and this gameplay demo does not look all that good. Oh, it looks like the hunter's patrolling. But it's so weird. You don't really get an indication that you've broken stealth, right? I mean, the jackal apparently spots the player, but the player can't even see the jackal. So, yeah, stealth is just broken, it looks like. They re-recorded the elite voice lines to be in English, but kept the original grunt voice lines. So again, someone made a conscious decision to replace the performance of David Scully, which was the elite lines, but in reverse. And again, I'm gonna say it for the 100th time, it's just so weird. Wait, so they did reuse this area. They just moved this area to a different part of the level. Interesting. They're just standing there! Why is he just standing there? God. Oh yeah, see, invisible elites? Yeah. Oh fuck, look at that. I fucked up. Look at him charging me. He doesn't just stand there looking at a wall. He actually charges you down. Oh god, I was kind of panicked. My butthole puckered. Oh god, there's another one. Oh fuck, I only have a plasma pistol. Can I bait him? Nope, nope, he's a smart motherfucker. Oh god, oh god, oh fuck, I'm trapped. Oh, barely. So they cut four sections of the level.
Look, Covenant Banshees.
I could see them, Cortana. Okay, the bridge used to be made of rock, and they have decided to make it Forerunner and more generic and less natural. Also, with the inclusion of sprint, it very clearly and obviously breaks this encounter. You are not guaranteed to get the Banshees. In fact, it's kind of difficult to do that, right? You see how far it is? And I can't just sprint up to it.
Bring me up there and I should be able to get us inside.
You can evade with the Banshee. It looks like enemy Banshees do not have that ability. So again, just another example of how the player has been buffed and enemies have been nerfed. The Banshee looks fun enough. It is really obnoxious that every single time you walk into a new room, there's like a nav point that appears at what can only be your logical conclusion. Yeah, it's like they just don't respect the intelligence of the player. Oh boy. Well, this was a mouthful. This shot is just much better to show the hallway, the big door opening. Chief kind of struts in.
Control center.
Yeah, he looks around. Player takes it in, and then he keeps moving forward. Hey, you get... Oh, man, I love that shot. Yeah, it seems like they just really like this sort of close-up.
Halo's control center.
Why would you use that take? It sounds like she's breathing as she says it. It sounds very weird. I mean, one last thing to point out is just the color scheme of the original looks a lot better, but holy god, that, you know, I have some positive things to say about it, but it's just, the majority of my complaints are just like, why did you change that? Why did you fuck that up? The fact that they cut 5 or 6 rooms out of the overall level, but all of the other shit, it just... I think to just sum it up, all of the new mechanics and features, all of the new stuff they added, it doesn't seem like any thought was put into balancing it or tuning it or making sure it would work with Halo's level design. So they kept the same level design, but they introduced all this other bullshit that doesn't necessarily work with that. They cut out parts of the level, changed areas that didn't really need to be changed, and they did not improve upon really anything as far as the overall design goes. They restored dialogue and moments that Bungie had envisioned, but again, the shitty parts of the level is the new stuff that they added, the superfluous dialogue. The Master Chief, if you press the X button next to a ghost, you can actually hijack it. Did you know that? Did you know that? Did you know that? Hey, listen. I wanted new dialogue to be added, but if this is how it's going to be for the entire campaign... So, that was a side-by-side, very long comparison of Assault in the Control Room, the original versus the remake. Obviously, you know my thoughts, but what do you think? I mean, was there some good stuff that I missed, that I just didn't notice? Or has my Halo 1 autism and ADHD reached Super Saiyan God status? Let me know in the comments below, but damn, this is like hard to process. Like, there's some good in there, but they fucked it up in so many ways that I just never imagined. Anyways, this video is long enough. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. All right, everyone, that's all I got for today. This is the Act Man signing out. Peace.